Hi.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Lauren. So we are recording Lauren's presentation of how she became known as the coffee and contracts queen. So Lauren is going to tell us her story. This is Lauren Wagner. She was the April Stevens team here in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. And we have done a couple of presentations in the past couple of weeks about the buyer's presentation, especially as things are, changing quickly in this business, and buyers agents are really need to get on the stick of knowing how to have those conversations with potential buyer clients and really show their value. So Lauren, we are so excited for you to
Yes.
show us what you do. So introduce yourself, tell us all about you, and let's just get right into it.
All right, cool. So yes, like Charity said, I'm Lauren Wagner. I'm with the April Stevens team. Typically, I don't talk in front of a lot of people. So mostly it's just a bunch of second graders that I'm speaking in front of. So this is a little different because I know it's just Charity and I right now, but a ton of people are hopefully going to watch this. I am a new agent. I've been in the business almost 2 years. And I'm a former stay-at-home mom, and I just really got bit by that real estate bug. And after about 25 times being burned and not knowing kind of what to do and how to do it, I decided I really wanted to hone in on my buyer agent skills because I feel like that's what a lot of new agents really kind of tend to throw themselves into to learn. So in my first year, I was very fortunate and did about 20 deals. Well, not about, I did 20 deals. And then this year, I'm well on my way to surpassing that number, and hopefully we'll be doubling that this year.
Hey,
So something that I just really found myself loving is just being a buyer's agent. I'm a PTA parent, a mom, and I love giving gifts and I love just meeting people and connecting. So I was really able to hone in on those skills.
perfect. So talk us through what we're talking about today is basically, you get a lead somehow, and then, the first step, as we all know, is we've got to meet with them and explain this is how it works, right? So let's
Right.
start with the phone call. And we know that the conversation is a little bit different based on who's calling you, right? And
Absolutely.
family and friends, sphere of influence, this is an easy conversation. I don't think that we really have to go through that. The harder conversations would be if it's somebody who's giving you a call off of a sign, or it's like an internet lead of some sort where they're strangers. There's
Absolutely.
pros and cons to sphere and strangers. Do you know what I mean? Sphere, they're
Mm-hmm.
like, you trust you, easy. There's just more people that you don't know than you do know. So learning how to kind of convert those people and getting them to meet with you is really the skill that most people need. So let's just role play really quickly. Let's say I
Sure.
call you and say, ring ring, and then you're gonna say, hey, and I'm gonna be basically, hey, yeah, I saw this house at 123 Main Street that I'm super interested in. Okay. And then the question
Okay.
you and what do you say for me from there?
Perfect. Okay. So I go ahead and I'm going to answer the phone, especially if it's a Zillow lead and it gets patched through. And I'm going to say, hey, this is Lauren Wagner with the April Stevens team. And then you're going to go ahead and let me know that your name is Charity. And then I'm going to say, okay, great, Charity. In case we get disconnected, what is the best phone number to reach you at?
Okay, perfect. And I'll give you my number.
Okay, great. And also too, just could I go ahead and get an email address from you as well? So while we're on the phone, in case a couple things come up and we want to chat about it, I can just go ahead and send you a quick email.
Okay, perfect. Give her email address.
Okay, perfect. All right. What brings you to 123 Main Street today?
Yeah, it's actually like in a neighborhood that we were super interested in. We were just driving through. We've been to open houses here, and we are super excited that it's available.
Okay, awesome. And how many houses have you looked at so far on this home journey?
Yeah, we've mostly been going to open houses. We don't really have an agent that we're working with exclusively. So for the most part, just going to open houses. We've been looking casually for probably a year, but it's really getting close to our time to really make a decision. So mostly open houses previously.
Mostly open houses. So would you say that you've just been going to open houses? That's great. Have you sat down and are you talking with a lender, and what is the name of the lender that you've been speaking with?
No, we haven't talked to a lender yet. I mean, I don't think we're going to have any issues, but we really don't know how it works. This will be our first time.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I love first time home buyers. Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, congratulations. This is so exciting, Charity, and I'm so excited. You called the right person today. So here's what I want to do with you, Charity, okay? Since this is the very first time that you've done this, I would love if we could just take about 30 minutes, whether it is this upcoming weekend, and just really sit down and talk about your home needs, your wants, your desires, talk to you about the process, give you a bit of a roadmap, talk to you about what it is like to work with a real estate agent. It sounds like you've only been going to open houses. Have you sat down with any other agents at this point and had this conversation?
No, mostly we've just, seen the agents at the open house, but we haven't really had any
Okay.
conversations
I
yet.
would love to take the time to really sit down and give you this information. I went ahead and at the beginning of the call, I got your email. So what I'd love to do is kind of send you over a couple handouts that I love for first-time home buyers to take a look at. And then if you're available this Saturday, I am free for coffee at 10 o'clock if that works in your schedule. If not, we can meet Sunday afternoon. I've got a 2 o'clock time slot just to kind of get together and really go through this.
Yeah, I mean, we want to see that a house. Should we? I mean, sooner. I'm just worried it's going to sell. Should we meet sooner than that, or like?
Sure, absolutely. What does your availability look like? It's Tuesday today. I could definitely, I'm not available today. I could do first thing tomorrow morning though. Do y'all have kids? What's like drop off looking like? What are we thinking?
Yeah. So probably, we have work tomorrow, but could we maybe do like 4 or so, or maybe is virtual an option?
Virtual is totally an option. The one thing I love is that we can have coffee virtually. COVID kind of gave us that ability. We never even thought we could even do that. Like, it's crazy that we're, in America and we're just like, COVID took us to that. But yeah, we could totally do virtual if you'd like.
Okay. Well, I mean, you sound so great. I'd love to meet with you in person. Are you available in person at all, like 4 o'clock tomorrow, or is that too late? Because if you,
Nope, 4 o'clock is perfect.
okay, let's meet in person then, and then we would schedule that, right? Of course, whatever.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then how do you end the call?
I go ahead and I recap everything. So I would say, okay, Charity, so it sounds like, again, I just want to recap everything that we just spoke about, okay? So we know that you're a first-time home buyer. You haven't really talked to a lender, and we're going to be able to kind of roadmap and go through all of that when we meet tomorrow at 4 o'clock. The Ugly Mug is a great meeting spot. I love it. It's right here. It's local. I love to support local. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to email you over some things that you can take a look at so you're prepared before we sit down tomorrow, as well as the address of where we're going to meet.
Okay, yeah, that's super exciting. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I look forward to meeting with you tomorrow.
See you then.
Yay, congrats. And then
You and I would be a great personality match for sure. As a lead and an agent.
cheerleader for people.
Yeah.
So love it.
Okay, so the day of the meeting, walk us through that process for you. How do you prepare, all that kind of stuff.
I'm really OCD. Okay. For any of you friends, watchers, I am Monica through and through, down to like the cleanliness and all of it. Super OCD. So I have one of two ways, and I really can pick up when I'm talking to them if they're going to be more of like a presentation, throw it at me, or if this is like maybe they've done this a couple times before, so that will determine what kind of buyer packet that they get from me. So this is a packet that I put together, and it's really great because it's like a clear envelope. And so we can put things in it as we go along. So as I meet with them, I'm old school. I'm still going to print it all out. I feel like sometimes people having something in their hands is super, super helpful. So this has a little notebook in it and an April Stevens pen with my business card, and then a couple different handouts on everything, including a vendor list if they have not spoken with a lender yet. I've also prepared, like, I've got these awesome little folders, and this kind of has a little bit more information in it. This is going to be more for my first time home buyer. It's a lot more info to throw at them, as well as like a pre-qualification for them to kind of see exactly where they're at. They've never done this before. What are all the things that we're wanting, down to like what kind of colors, what kind of carpet, what kind of aesthetics are we looking at? Because those are so important, and they help us to limit looking at 35 houses. And then the last thing that I do, no matter what kind of home buyer they are, is my handy dandy little home buyer kit. And so I've got all the things in there that they could potentially need. So I do a lot of swag. I'm on a team, like Charity said. So I can literally just steal things from the office constantly. And I am trash bags full over my shoulder, like I'm robbing the place. So there's that. But also
What is
too,
that
I've
thing?
got,
What is that?
what?
What is that red cup? Is it
Oh, this is like a koozie that you would stick in the sand. And
oh,
then you can put your beverage of choice in that. So April made these for the summertime, so I've been putting them for summer.
yeah.
We have a seasonal thing that we'll do throughout each season. So this was summer, so this is my little April Stevens swag. There's also some sunglasses and chapstick in
Yeah,
here too.
good, good.
Yeah, and then there's like, I do some hand sanitizer. I've got a tape measure, little mini. This is a 6 foot though, so this is great. So a lot of times people, don't understand that, like, you want to take measurements for a fridge. You want to take measurements because maybe blinds aren't included, or you have a curtain aesthetic in your mind. This is really helpful. A flashlight. There are a lot of crawl spaces in North Carolina. This is super helpful, especially educating a first timer that's never done it before, and just kind of being able to say, hey, take that flashlight out, let's take a quick look. And then again, another little notebook, because you can never have too many. And then the working with real estate brochure. So yeah, that's usually just a little snippet of what's in there.
Do you go through that gift bag with them and tell them why you included those things the way you just explained it to me? Because I think that'd be super cute, like showing your expertise at the same time too.
So I do. So I will go through it, especially for first timers, because a lot of times they're like, I have no idea why you would give that to me. What I love though is my third time home buyers. That's been my sweet spot, because I resonate with that demographic. And so a lot of times they start taking this stuff out and they're like, oh my gosh, I so could have used this, and I need to make sure my, gorgeous double door fridge is gonna fit. This is great. So, the spiel will differ on the client.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's just take it step by step so that we can see when and where you introduce kind of all these like lovely things. And by the way, she's gonna we have a PowerPoint we're gonna share, and on that it's gonna have some links to some of these places that she's found these things. So you guys will have access to that. But so tell us, walk in, shake hand, we got coffee, we're sitting down, small talk is finished. How do you transition? Because I think this is one of the biggest things with people is they don't really know how to transition from small talk to like, now we're doing this. Right?
Right.
Yeah, so like let's just role play it as if I'm your buyer.
Okay. So Charity, so we've kind of gone through all the fun stuff. First, I'll ask you, do you have any questions for me before we kind of dive into the meat and potatoes here of this meeting?
We're like brand new, so honestly, we're just kind of trusting you to tell us what we need to know.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I was hoping you would say that. So now I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about a couple different things that are going to come up throughout the process, including finances. So the first thing that's really important is I want to go ahead and make sure that you get pre-approved. I'll give them, here is my handbook of all of my trusted and preferred vendors that I know that are local people. It's a real person on the other end of the phone, and they can really help us like get started. Because the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to generate any sort of search yet until we know exactly how much we can afford and what that monthly payment is going to look like for you. Because sometimes we look at that big number and we think, oh, I can't afford that. But what we don't realize is a lender can break it down by our budget and what we can afford monthly. And so that's very important. The second thing I want to talk to you about is my fee. So as you understand, this is my living, this is what I do. And so I want to make sure that you fully understand what the upfront costs are going to be as far as like inspections, maybe we want to look at radon, things like that. And then also to the fee that is here on this net sheet that I will provide to you. So you kind of have an understanding.
So,
It's my,
so you've now sat down and you've shown them the gifts first and the packet, and you're just going through.
yes.
Okay, just to be clear that we've already done that part of we weren't waiting to the end. Okay, perfect. All right, so now you're flipping through the packet while you're sitting with them, and these are
Yep.
you're showing them page. Okay, cool. All right, perfect. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, so I just want to kind of walk through, and here I'll share the screen here so you can see that net sheet and what that looks like.
Yeah, and you can start from the beginning of the PowerPoint. We kind of skipped ahead, but if that's helpful too.
Okay. So this is definitely what I would start with. So this is a brochure that I like to kind of go over when I'm getting started. Tells them a little bit about who I work for and why that is so impactful for them as the client, because they're not just getting me, they're also getting this amazing team that I work with that's in the top 5 in the triangle for volume and sales. So I talk a little bit about that. Then I go into a little bit more about me, and kind of my real estate passion and a little bit, just a snippet so that they understand exactly who the person sitting in front of them is. And then I've obviously given them the buyer kit. So this is just for anybody that wants to know a couple of the things. I buy most of this stuff on Amazon. Market Dwellings right here is amazing. They do these keychains and they're just incredible. And people, especially first-time home buyers, just absolutely love to just be like, wow, this is like something so substantial. And that you've given it to me. And then what's really cool is you can customize it on the back. With your phone number and your information so that they always think of you once you are able to close on their home. So yes, then here is this buyer net sheet that I get into. This is the thing that I think everybody's afraid of, especially first-time home buyers, is what is it going to cost? And so even though I don't know all of the ins and outs, and I let them know, how the process works, attorneys will be able to determine things such as, taxes and prorated fees, but I like to give them a snippet of what this all looks like on paper.
Perfect. Awesome.
Okay, sorry. Like I said, I am not the most computer savvy.
Good. No, you got all the information. We can deal with the Canva. So you're gonna go through the different options, and then out-of-pocket expenses, which is, in North Carolina in particular, due diligence, home inspections, appraisals, and then and that your job is to negotiate. Yeah. So if someone's like, wow, like,
Oh, that, it's my job to negotiate what they need to get to the closing table. It's my job as their agent to make sure that we get exactly what they need to get to the closing table. And part of that is this unicorn amount that's right here that we're going to negotiate with the seller on concessions.
perfect. Yep. And then we say, obviously the seller pays their agent to represent them, and as the buyer, you guys are
Yes.
say,
And so
ordinary and customary, things are changing, right, with the NAR.
right.
But, it is still our job to negotiate to see if the seller is willing to contribute towards that compensation. And a lot of times they will. But if
right.
at any point that, that what they're willing to contribute is less than what I charge for my services, which is not a set fee, but for me, Lauren, this is what I charge. This is what I have
Right.
my cost and expense. And it could be whatever, it could be $5. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
What you're saying is, buyer, ultimately it is your responsibility, it's your expense, but actually all of these things are negotiable, and that's going to be, figured out throughout the process. And I think as long as you say it like that, people are like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah. And I have not found to be a lot of pushback, and I let them know if at any point we cannot negotiate this number with the seller, I have other tactics. We have other things that we're going to be able to do to ensure we get to the closing table and we get exactly what you need as the buyer to get there. I let them know that we can talk to lenders, that there's a lot of ways that my value comes in to make sure that that is done.
Perfect. Love that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and this has been great because, again, I'm not a lender, but I do know what front roundabout numbers are, especially for out-of-pocket appraisal fees and moving costs, what home inspections are going to end up looking like. So I think it really helps. I see this immediate like feeling of relief on their shoulders when they're like, okay. And then a lot of times they don't even understand that, listen, there's all sorts of different loan options. You don't have to put 20% down if that's not in your budget. And that's where I just had this conversation yesterday with the client. And I said, listen, FHA, could be the right fit for you. Let's get you hooked up with a lender to make sure, because it sounds like it is, but I'm not a lender. But me providing that for them really helps them feel like, oh my gosh, okay, great. It's not as scary as I thought.
Right, right. And there's really no way you can know, right, as an agent, but like these are just estimates that are
Right.
pretty close, but we know, and there's people gonna be watching this video from all over the country, right? So what it might look like in Garner, North Carolina is gonna be different than what it looks like in Honolulu, Hawaii. So guys, don't take these numbers as the gospel truth. You're gonna figure out what these
No.
yourself. And even then, you're just constantly saying, just like we do a seller's estimated net sheet, estimated,
Right. Same thing.
100%. I think this is so smart. I love this.
I do actually, I sign off on it and I have them initial off on it as well, because I want it to be very clear that we understand this before I get to the next piece, which is how are we going to do this?
Right.
Are we going to go ahead and make this official? Are we going to just, and I give them the two options here. I've got this 1-day agreement. I've also got, here's what a buyer agency agreement looks like. And I want them to have all the things in front of them so they can't come back and say that I didn't explain it to them. I think people really genuinely want transparency.
Sure.
And as difficult, if we can have the conversation with the seller, we can have it with the buyer.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it just has to be the same way. It's having a quote unquote listing presentation, but it's a buyer presentation. It's the same thing.
And it's important to have a system and a process that you do every single time. So it's like, you don't even have to think about it anymore. This is what I do. Boom, I get a call,
Right.
set up a meeting, I have this conversation, I bring the things, and then your day should literally be lead generation meetings, lead generation, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just depending on what
and I keep a lot of these things in my car.
Sure.
So I'll keep 1 or 2 buyer kits in the car.
Yeah.
I also have a little crate in the back, and it's my go crate, and I've got all the things that I need, because I think we all as realtors, like we can literally be, bouncing around, and then we get this phone call and you want to feel prepared to get in front of the client right away. Because there's nothing worse than having somebody that's on the hook and you're not able to get in front of them immediately.
For sure. For sure. And it's just being prepared in general, right? So like the more prepared you are, the more prepared you are for business. So I love this. And then what do we have on our next page here?
And then this is again, so this is something that I wanted to get away from. I feel like, especially with the way that things have shifted in our industry, that now that we're explaining this, I mean, it's always been this way, right? But now we're explaining, the way we explain it is different to our buyers. So instead of just providing just your basic testimony, and these are all past clients of mine that have left reviews on our Google page or have, sent in things to our marketing team. Instead of just saying, this is Mal and Sarah, and they were just so, they just loved, me. I think it's easier now to go in and talk more about these things.
Yeah.
And so we're taking our basic situation and we're turning it into what the problem was for the client. If I had done nothing, what would have happened? How I solved the problem, and then what the result was. And I think it's just creating it into a story. So taking one simple thing and really dissecting it into all the steps that I took to get to the end result, which was, in this situation that's on the screen, Mark and Marianne, really found their dream home, but didn't think that they could afford it. What did I do to ensure that they could?
Right.
And then we got there, and the end result was we got them $28,000 in seller concessions.
Amazing.
Brought down their rate, and I mean, here you go, and they met that monthly payment that they needed to meet.
And that's when people say, show your value, show your value. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. And I love the way that you frame this. What's the problem? What happened if I did nothing? How did I solve the problem? And what was the result? So there's a beginning, middle, end, which is super important when you're telling stories in general. You could literally take this as your format for creating social media content, right? But communication is key. And I know a lot of agents, I've trained probably 20,000 agents in the past 3 years, and they're good. They do a lot of things. They just don't know how to articulate what they've done. So that framework you just gave them, I think, is chef's kiss. Super important. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, and really past that, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Like, I sit down with them, I get in front of them. If it has to be virtual, I'm okay with that. And I'll even make sure that I pour a cup of coffee, just to have that same camaraderie and that same feeling. And really it's just about giving them the materials, working on the materials and making sure that they make sense to the average consumer that is not in this business every day.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. This is so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this. I think this is really going to help a lot of agents who do have value, and sometimes we just don't realize our own value, but you really do have to see. And if you're new, you may not realize.
Yeah.
You may not have these stories. But the key is to be around the right people who have,
Yes,
and borrow our stories, right?
absolutely.
Learn the value of an agent. And I don't think the value of an agent is going away in any way, shape, or form. We just have to get better at telling those stories, as we've always had to do on the listing side. So the point that you made, again, the buyer's presentation has to be as strong, because people don't mind paying for a service.
They don't.
They believe that that service is valuable, and that, I could pull my own tooth right now if I wanted to, but I'm probably not going to. Just because I can do it by myself doesn't mean I should. I'm not going to get the best results doing it for myself. So these are the stories that we're telling about what we do, which we have always known how to have those conversations, again, on the selling side. So this is really super helpful. And I know.
Yeah, I just felt like, it's like insurance, right? When you go to a doctor's office, 9 times out of 10, they're putting a sheet in front of you that says, here's what your insurance is going to pay. Here's what your copay is. And in the event that your insurance doesn't pay for it, this is what you'll owe. And I feel like it has to be the same thing. People just want to know up front.
Yeah.
And I think that as long as we're offering that information, I feel like it really helps to get it all. Let's just get it all out on the table. Okay, I'm gonna do my very best to ensure this is how it goes. But in the event that it doesn't, I just want you to know what we're looking at here,
And this
okay?
takes you from being a customer service representative who opens doors to being an actual advisor, because people can really deal with anything as long as the expectations are set.
There
So
you go. That's
it's
it.
super key to just be strong enough to have these conversations. Thing is, now everyone has to sign a buyer's broker. It's not like it's just you and they could skip you and go to somebody else. They're still going to have to pay a buyer's broker, right? So the key is, we're not selling, should you use an agent? Like, hopefully that we're past that point, but between all the people that are available to you, here's why you should use me. And so
Yes.
just dig deep on that, your value and your worth, and be around people who support you in that process. So
Yes.
Lauren, I'm so excited. This was fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thanks
Guys,
for having me.
we'll put Lauren's information in the description as well. You guys can get in touch with her. And then we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.